Earth. Tonight, we open the door to the unknown, a door that has always been waiting for us in silence, hidden beyond the stars, beyond the shadows of ordinary nights. Here, we invite you to leave behind the world you know and step into a place where truth and imagination blur together, where the boundary between dream and reality becomes thin. Since the beginning of time, humankind has stared into the sky. The stars, scattered like distant fires, have asked questions we cannot fully answer. Who is out there? Are we truly alone? Or has someone been watching quietly, patiently from beyond the veil of darkness? It begins, as it so often does, with light, a light that should not be there. A man once drove alone on an empty road, deep in the countryside. His headlights carved a pale tunnel through the dark fields, and the silence was broken only by the hum of the engine. Then he saw it, a blue glow above the horizon. At first he thought it was a plane, but it moved too fast, then too slow, then stopped completely in the middle of the sky. He pulled the car over, rolled down his window, and listened. The world was silent, frozen. The light hung there, waiting, almost alive, and then it was gone. No sound, no movement, no fading trail, just emptiness. When he looked at his watch, 2 hours were missing. He could never explain where they went. Stories like his ripple across every continent. Farmers, pilots, soldiers, children, people who never met, never spoke, yet all described the same impossible things. A humming in the night, a glow without a source, shadows at the edge of the bed. One woman awoke to a vibration in her chest as though her very heartbeat had been replaced by a foreign rhythm. She opened her eyes and saw a figure in the corner of her room. Thin, tall, its skin reflecting a faint silver sheen. She could not move, though her mind screamed. The figure tilted its head as if studying her. Then came the blinding light, and when she woke again, it was morning. But on her wrist was a small, perfect circle, burned into the skin like a brand. Across the world, others tell the same. In the deserts of Nevada, 3 campers watched as orbs danced silently above the dunes. They moved with grace, weaving patterns no human aircraft could follow. One orb broke away, lowering until the sand glowed white beneath it. For a moment, it hovered no more than 20 feet from the ground. The men could see its surface ripple as though it were alive. Then, in an instant, it vanished. For the rest of their lives, each of them swore that the desert had never been empty again, that something had remained behind, unseen, still watching. In South America, a farmer reported that his cattle refused to graze. He stepped outside and saw a disk, wide and bright, hanging silently over his field. The air was heavy, charged with electricity. The animals stood frozen, eyes fixed skyward. When the disk finally lifted, he discovered precise circular patterns scorched into the earth. Perfect rings, too large and too exact to have been made by human hands. Some claim these are hoaxes, illusions, tricks of the mind. But if that were true, why do the stories always echo one another? Why do strangers in every corner of the globe see the same shapes, hear the same hum, feel the same paralysis as shadows approach their beds? It is as though humanity is part of a test. Watched, studied, but never told the rules. One night, a pilot flying over the Atlantic reported 3 lights pacing his plane. They followed in perfect formation, matching every turn. His instruments began to fail. The compass spun wildly. The altimeter refused to settle. In a panic, he radioed the nearest control tower, but the response was silence. Nothing but static filled his ears. Then, just as suddenly, the lights broke away, rising into the sky until they became stars once more. Moments later, the instruments returned to normal, and the tower answered as if nothing had happened. Time and again, the encounters leave behind the same feeling: helplessness. Humanity dwarfed by something greater, something just out of reach. A boy in rural Japan once described hearing footsteps on the roof of his home. When his father went outside to check, the night was clear and silent, yet the boy swore that through his window he saw shapes. Small, gray, crouching, their heads tilted at impossible angles. The father found nothing, but in the morning the boy's room smelled faintly of metal, sharp and cold, and his pillow was damp with tears he could not remember crying. In Alaska, hunters followed a trail of lights into the forest. They described how the trees glowed faintly, as though lit from within, and how the snow beneath their boots hummed with energy. Deep within the woods, they found a clearing that had not existed before, a perfect circle where no snow had fallen, where the ground was warm despite the freezing air. They never returned to that forest. Again and again, the stories surface, different voices, different places, but always the same question. What do they want? Why do they come to us in silence, leaving marks and memories but never answers? Perhaps it is not we who find them. Perhaps it is they who allow themselves to be seen. Consider the strange case of the man from rural England who awoke one night to a low vibration in his ears. The sound was not outside. It was inside his head, as though something were calling to him from within. He rose from his bed, walked barefoot through the house, and stepped into the cold night air. Above his garden hovered three glowing spheres. They rotated around each other in silence, like planets orbiting a hidden sun. He felt no fear, only calm. The next morning he woke in his bed again, though his feet were caked with mud. For days afterward, he could not bring himself to eat, surviving only on water, claiming he felt nourished by light. In the mountains of Chile, miners witnessed a craft descend into a canyon. They described it as triangular, each edge glowing with a dull red pulse. For nearly 10 minutes it remained, silent and unmoving, before shooting straight upward into the clouds with impossible speed. Later, when they descended into the canyon, they found that the rock walls were warm to the touch, and their watches all ticked exactly 10 minutes behind the rest of the world. Such encounters weave themselves into the hidden fabric of human history. Ancient carvings show shapes that resemble discs and cylinders. Old texts whisper of star people descending from the heavens. Cave paintings thousands of years old depict beings with large heads and dark eyes, standing beside our ancestors as if guiding them. Were these mere symbols or the earliest records of contact? A man in Arizona recalled being a child when a silver craft landed near his family's ranch. He remembered lights flooding the desert, brighter than the moon. He remembered shapes moving toward him. But the memory stopped there, as though something had closed a door in his mind. For decades he thought it was a dream, until one night, under hypnosis, every detail returned. The soundless craft, the hand that reached for his, the rows of glowing symbols on a wall he could not read, and the overwhelming feeling that he had been chosen. Again and again, people speak of missing time, hours lost with no explanation, dreams that feel more real than waking life, and strange marks, triangles, circles, burns, appearing overnight on their skin. Doctors cannot explain them. Families refuse to believe them. Yet the witnesses remain convinced they were taken. What is most unsettling is not the encounters themselves, but what follows after. Many describe the same lingering presence, as though they are never truly alone again. The sense that something watches them in silence, waiting for the right moment to return. A teacher in Canada told of lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, when a shadow moved across her room though no light shone. The figure stood by her bed. She could not scream. She could not breathe. Only when the figure leaned close and touched her forehead did she black out. In the morning, she remembered nothing, except the sound of a voice whispering, "Not yet." Across oceans and generations, the message seems the same. They are not random visitors. They have a plan. But what is it? Are they scientists collecting samples the way we might study insects in a field? Are they guardians watching humanity until we are ready to take our place among the stars? Or are they something far more dangerous, an intelligence that does not see us as equals, but as resources? The truth may already be known by some, hidden in vaults, locked behind classified files. Governments deny, yet their actions betray them. Strange objects tracked on radar, entire regions sealed off after sightings, witnesses silenced, evidence erased. If there is nothing to hide, why hide anything at all? And still, the encounters continue. In the deserts of Nevada, a truck driver reported a light following his vehicle late at night. At first, he thought it was another car, but when he looked again, the light was above the ground, keeping pace with him, matching every turn of the road. He pressed the accelerator, racing through the empty highway, but the light stayed close. Finally, it rose higher into the sky and split into 3 smaller orbs, each darting away in a different direction. The truck's engine stalled, the headlights died, and for 3 minutes, he sat in absolute darkness. When the power returned, his clock read an hour later than it should have been. In Siberia, Hunters came across a clearing where the trees were bent outward in a perfect circle, as if something massive had pressed down from above. The snow in the center had melted, though the air was freezing. They found no footprints, no tracks, no heat source, just silence. Weeks later, one of the men fell gravely ill. His skin showed burns, though he had never been near fire. Doctors could not explain it. He whispered before dying that he still dreamed of the circle of light. Patterns emerge. Different countries, different times, yet the signs repeat. The hum in the ears, the missing hours, the marks on the skin, the lights in the sky. These are not isolated accidents. They are a design, a pattern stretching across human existence, too vast to ignore. And then there are the prophecies. Ancient shamans spoke of sky beings who would one day return in great numbers. Modern abductees speak of visions, oceans swallowing cities, skies burning red, and a voice that says, "You are not in control." Some wake in tears, unable to explain why they feel both terror and awe. What if the visitors are not coming? What if they have always been here? Hidden in the oceans, beneath mountains, inside the blackness of space just beyond our reach. Watching, waiting, choosing when to reveal themselves. And when they do, will humanity be ready to face them? Imagine a day when the sky fills with shapes not of our world, when cities stand silent as shadows pass overhead, when every person realizes at the same moment that we are not alone, never were. The question is not whether they exist. The question is, why are they here? And perhaps, what do they want from us?